On the evening of June 12th, the US government targeted Anthropic's new Fable 5 model with an export control order. This required that no foreign nationals inside or outside of the US, including foreign national employees of Anthropic itself, should have access to Fable 5 or Mythos 5. In short order, the model was pulled globally and everywhere it had been accessible, including Microsoft tools like Copilot Cowork and PowerPoint, saw it vanish. This highlights a fragility for frontier AI that hadn't been clear before: national security interests. But even before this happened, Anthropic had signalled its own fragility around this release. It had stated that this model would only be available to subscribers for a couple of weeks before moving to consumption billing only. The question is, what should the fable of Fable tell us in this unending contest of one-upmanship around ever smarter AI models? Stick around to hear my take and where I think we should be focusing to respond. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant who specialises in AI adoption for small and medium-sized businesses. I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you're interested in keeping up with AI advances, make sure you get subscribed to the channel and drop this video a like so you get to see more from me in the future. And if you're interested in working with me, check out the links down in the video description to get in contact. The specific story of Fable is an interesting one. This was supposed to be the safer variant of the Mythos model everyone has been terrified of for the last couple of months. Yet, hyperbolic assertions of models being so powerful they are dangerous is nothing new in the AI industry. Back in 2019, before AI was cool again, the same argument was given by OpenAI around GPT-2, when they declined to ship the full model due to safety concerns. And given that these models invariably seem to arrive eventually, it doesn't seem out of place to highlight just how good this type of story is for marketing. But why do I need to make this point when industry giant Yann LeCun did it much better on LinkedIn, showing that his view is that this Fable 5 band is Anthropic reaping what they sowed through misplaced safety warnings. Even AI skeptics like Gary Marcus are calling this overdramatic. But to dismiss safety entirely would be wrong. There's already strong evidence that the AI available pre-Fable or Mythos is having an impact on cybersecurity. But it's also propagating other harm through use like non-consensual sexual imagery or the hyper-targeting of political content. And anyone who lost their job or had their job altered in negative ways due to the real or imagined impacts of AI on business has experienced a different type of harm too. Anthropic does a lot of risk management research, so it's convenient the one it chose to put most wind in the sails of was the concerns about Mythos. Only those inside Anthropic understand where the line rests between highlighting the issue due to real safety fears or a type of disingenuous scarcity marketing. After all, we are all not too far away from the mentality of my 5-year-old, where if I tell him a toy is dangerous because it's for bigger kids, he's even more certain he needs to play with it. However, no matter the motivation or the objective reality of the Mythos-related safety assertions, there was enough of a grain of truth that existed for the US government to enact the export control on Fable that served to cut it off worldwide. This is the first time such a government action has stood in the way of these frontier AI labs, and a very unusual move for a government that's been reluctant to enact any type of AI regulation that might halt rapid progress. The excitement about Fable 5 was very real, as was the excitement about Opus 4.8, GPT 5.5, Gemini 3.5, and every new bleeding-edge model that has arrived since the release of ChatGPT in 2022. Model boosters get excited, tell us it is life-changing, and then the cycle repeats a few weeks later when the next AI lab releases their latest. And don't get me wrong, Fable 5 is a good model. I got the chance to play with it on Claude and in Copilot Cowork before it vanished, and it did indeed step up some of my processes. Yet I also tested it on some real Cowork tasks, running pretty much exactly the same request against Sonnet 4.62. And Fable did do better. It was stylistically more polished, but not to an extent where the Sonnet output was no longer viable. Both gave a perfectly reasonable result. While frontier models like Fable may indeed be the smartest, at least until the next one comes along, there are two reasons, one existing and one now emerging, to think about that experience I had with Fable versus Sonnet. For the vast majority of what business users are doing with AI today, and frankly, the most time-consuming or friction-laden aspects of knowledge work jobs, the main constriction right now is not model smartness, it's context orchestration. We have never seen a frontier model arrive and vanish like has happened with Fable. This type of governmental intervention is entirely new. But the interesting thing is that what has happened to Anthropic in having to shut Fable down mirrors what Anthropic was planning to do anyway. At launch, they gave subscription users a few weeks to experiment with Fable, and then stated that as of June 22nd, it would move from subscriptions over to consumption billing. So unless you wanted to pay more, it was going to vanish anyway. In fairness to Anthropic, the degree of Fable vanishing that was exacted by the government is in a different league to what they planned, but this was already a very unusual model launch because of this issue. Anthropic was clear that this decision was linked to capacity, but it's not a big leap to expect that capacity easing might be expected when Fable got supplanted by a better model. And for Microsoft's part, who rolled Fable into some Microsoft 365 Copilot services in preview on launch day, it was never clear whether this included capacity would have lived beyond preview if Fable had stuck around, or if, hopefully when, it returns. For a while now, I, like many in the AI community, have been raising the flag on the importance of this AI costs issue, from GitHub Copilot to Claude enterprise plans to this temporary included release of Fable. The number of signals across the industry of an outright retreat from subscription-based billing has been growing, and yet most of us have continued to be used to just selecting the best model in whatever chat product we use and seeing great results. For many tasks, we routinely choose to turn on a nuclear reactor to power something that requires a 9-volt battery. And there are lots of reasons we shouldn't be doing this. The environmental impact of AI is now a well-trodden issue, as is the impact of the growing number of data centres to the communities they're built in. Yet, perhaps these factors seem distant in comparison to model choice costing real money. And if you're the CFO in a business with subscription-based AI licenses, where the best model has just been released as a consumptive add-on, this might be the point at which you have to start paying notice to this issue. The reality is that the token-by-token cost of AI has largely decreased, even when using the most advanced models. But the way in which we use these tools, which generate ever more tokens, has outpaced the raw efficiency gains in inference. For example, agentic loops, where we have a reasonably straightforward task, but need to iterate over lots of sources, burn lots of tokens. But whether you need the intelligence of Opus or Fable tokens versus Sonnet tokens should be a question you're asking. The orchestration capabilities and intelligence capabilities are not the same thing, yet they feel aligned as across the entire AI industry, they have grown together. That financial picture is not new, but in the face of what just happened to Fable, I think there's another risk we need to put alongside it. The specific reason given for the US government's intervention was that Fable could be jailbroken, that users could manipulate it to get around its safeguards. But so can every other frontier AI model. And in this context, relying on raw intelligence to power through work becomes its own risks, as you never know what flaw might be discovered in that model that would cause a government to take similar action to what we just saw happen with Fable. If your entire AI value chain is built around intelligence rather than process optimization, you might be able to see that intelligence dry up, and the gains you've been expecting from AI might be harder to deliver. And this isn't just an abstract concept. The idea of tasks being able to be optimally delivered by lighter models is one that some research work has gone into at this point. I'll drop some links below on that. But we can also see this strategy right in Microsoft 365 Copilot, where their auto model router is designed to do what I'm suggesting. The reflexive, I should just choose Opus instinct is one that Microsoft is investing a lot of effort in making wrong by choosing the right reasoning level for the job, something that is likely to become even more optimized now Microsoft AI is creating better reasoning models, as was recently announced at Build. The whole story of what has gone on with Fable is undoubtedly highly unusual, but while it currently sits as an outlier, it is on the same trajectory where, for a variety of reasons, access to the smartest model might become less justifiable, more expensive, and perhaps even blocked, depending on where in the world you are. If you're a research scientist, this might be a problem, but if you're a knowledge worker responding to emails and creating slide decks, it might be an affront to your feeling of control, but it's unlikely to be detrimental to your productivity. What do you think about this? How much do you think about the model that you're choosing for the tasks that you're doing? And have you experimented trying to use what are conceived to be weaker models and seeing the real difference between that and the frontier option that you've got available to you right now? I'd be interested to hear your opinions on this. Start the conversation down in the comments. I hope this has been useful to you. Until the next video, bye bye.